that. Get rid of that. Okay, good. Darn StreamYard video. Okay. StreamYard's mostly working well for me. Maybe I'm doing something funny on my machine. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Street Epistemology call-in show. You might recognize that we have somebody that you may have only seen once, maybe. This is Aaron. Aaron is our ringer caller today. So we're going to jump right into the Street Epistemology if nobody has any objections. Aaron, I understood your claim was that intelligent life probably exists elsewhere in the universe. So, definitions. Gina, jump right in. I think this is a fine dog pile. Intelligent life, what does that mean?
To Gina or to me?
That's to you, and I'm inviting Gina. I'm inviting Gina to do a dog pile. I see. Against the rule.
Okay.
And so, if you feel crowded, let us know, and we'll jump down to one of us. So,
Gotcha.
What does intelligent life mean?
To me personally, I think it's life that if we were to meet it, we would somehow be able to communicate with it and have, like we do with each other, as fellow human beings, to some level. I don't know, what other criteria, whether they need to be, spacefaring intelligence, but just intelligence to where we could have some sort of communicative discourse where we could understand them, they could understand us, like we do each other. Just like, when we meet somebody who doesn't speak our native language, we can still communicate in some way. There's still a commonality, being that we're human.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's kind of my thought as far as when I think of intelligent life, is something that, we could somehow be able to communicate with one another in some form and have an understanding.
Yeah. Mustache is saying, would plants count as intelligent life? And I want to go that direction, not all the way to plants. So I currently have pets, and my cats communicate to me when they're hungry. I communicate to them, come here, I want pets, or may not go outside the house. Would that count as the kind of communication you mean?
I have a cat as well, and she's pretty vocal. I would say it would. I could probably rate that as in the realm, but I would probably step it up a notch and more to be more maybe a little more advanced.
Mm-hmm.
Like they could carry on a conversation of some sort. Like they could say, "Oh, this is where I live. This is." They would have some sort of knowledge that we could exchange. I guess would be a good way to. Yeah.
Sounds a bit like a Turing test. A test for artificial intelligence where a person can't tell whether they're talking to a computer or a person.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're right. I remember hearing about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it would Dali? No, maybe Dali is not the right one. Would the current AIs that can simulate? I'm not sure if they're simulating. If the current AIs that could carry on a text conversation with you, would that rise to your level of what would qualify as intelligent life if you also understood that those AIs were life-based?
Well, AIs.
I don't want to force you into saying AIs are alive because they follow this definition.
Right. Yeah. I mean, when I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking of a actual biological entity.
Right.
Yeah. So
something that's life is able to have a conversation with us in some kind of language that we can learn, and it's higher than we usually hold animals, and it's flexible, and it's necessarily biological and communicative.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the universe? How
What
is it the part we can see and beside the Big Bang? Is it
I would
the whole
say
cosmos?
it's everything that we're able to see and measure to some level of accuracy.
Okay.
I mean, what's as far as all the theories that are out there, whether we're in a bubble of a universe and multiverse theory,
Mhm.
I don't know. But
If
it's
multiverse, you're only talking about this instantiation. Is that
yeah,
right? Uh-huh.
currently, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Now, elsewhere, I assume means outside of where humans are, which is a thin
Earth.
skin on this planet, plus, if I'm remembering right, something like 14 recently. Maybe it's 11 now because some ups and downs in orbit. Just we've got like 11 people in orbit right now.
Oh,
Yeah. So we thin skin on the planet plus those that we have in low Earth orbit, and outside of that, that's the elsewhere, right?
yeah, outside of our planet, elsewhere in the known universe or our own galaxy, whatever. Yeah,
Okay.
just
But not within our orbital sphere, outside of Sol, outside of our star's influence.
sure.
Okay.
I mean that. I mean that could change if there's something in the oceans of Europa that we don't know about.
Oh, okay.
I'm just
So
saying. I'm just saying. Yeah,
Earth Moon then. Okay.
sure. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Reasons. What reasons lead you? Oh, confidence maybe.
Sure.
What probability would you put on life existing elsewhere in the universe?
I'd say on a scale from 0 being none to 10, I would say I would give it a good hard 8.
Okay. 8. Cool. That's interesting. When we had Fraser Kane on, he was 80% sure, which I think is the same, that life did not exist elsewhere in the universe. And
That's so
maybe
bizarre.
we'll look up the link for that, and I'll stick it in when I'm not talking. So what evidence leads you to this conclusion? What reasons do you have to think so?
Well, based on what current modern science and astrophysics and astronomy and cosmology, what we do know, and just within the recent, I don't know how many years that we've been discovering extrasolar planets, and how many of those are possibly habitable, as far as they're in the Goldilocks zone of their specific type of star.
Okay.
And knowing that, you know, that our own galaxy has, umpteen billion stars in it, and then there's umpteen billion observable galaxies within or more in the known universe, observable universe. I just base it off just pure, and I'm not a mathematician of any sort. Math was probably my worst subject in school. And I've never taken probability, but just basic mathematical probability, I say the odds are pretty darn good that there's something. Like, it's just
Okay.
our little happening here within our solar system around our star is not unique. I'm sure it has happened elsewhere.
Okay.
As long as the planet is at the right Goldilocks zone to get water, as far as what we know, what it's needed to spur life, biological life. That's what leads me to think. I don't know, but I'm just,
Mhm.
like I said, basing on pure mathematical probability, I say it's, yeah.
So I hear, because there is a very large number of opportunities that are sufficiently similar to the conditions under which we see, that probabilistically exist ubiquitously throughout the universe,
Yeah.
that you would say the odds that we are the only one are very, very low.
Yeah. That just doesn't seem, yeah.
So why only 80%? What counts
Because,
for 20?
what's that?
What accounts for the 20?
Oh, just the fact that I don't know for sure that we haven't been presented with, like, we haven't, seen them, or they haven't communicated with us, the intelligent life. So there's
it's
always
mostly a question of intellectual modesty.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So if Gina were saying, "Oh no, I understand that next year we're going to find out. We're supposed to get a release that's 99% sure to tell us the answer to this question, and the odds are going up, and you're taking an 80% odds. Maybe you're betting some money you can afford to lose on it, and you're taking what, 4-1 odds, something like that. And Gina's taking 9-1 odds or 10-1 because she's 90% sure. I don't know where Gina, where are you on this one? What would be your bet?
I think I'm maybe the same as him.
Okay, 80%. All right, well then you're no good at all. Forget you.
Okay, for the sake of the thought experiment, for the sake of thought experiment, I go all in. I'm 100% sure.
Okay, so Gina's taking 10-1 odds, and you're only taking 4-1 odds. Do you think she's incorrect? Do you think she's immodest in her claim? Do you think she would be making a bad calculation?
I don't know.
Risk? Yeah. Okay.
I don't know.
Cool. What could make you more sure that this was true?
I think what would raise my confidence even more is if we were to find not intelligent life, but just even basic life, basic cellular life under the oceans of Europa. As they say that the prime missions that NASA wants to explore, and those unique environments where they're orbiting a planet, maybe not a star, but the moons of the big gas giants in our own solar system are probably good places to start to see. So if they were to find just basic cellular life, that would definitely increase my confidence level elsewhere, based off of pure mathematical probability of all the billions of other stars and galaxies in the known universe.
So if we looked in, I think, what is the closest Goldilocks zone that doesn't overlap with ours, that we would, and if you found life there, that would raise one of those figures in the Drake equation that I think you're referring to. All of these probabilities adding together, applying together, it would really raise the probability of life being ubiquitous, which then really increases the probability that some of that life will reach the intelligence level of our current AIs or something.
Right.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So Mustache asks the next question.
What was something that would reduce your confidence?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've never really thought about it, because my short answer is I don't know. Just because the topic of the claim is so,
Okay.
Yeah. Short answer is I don't know. I mean,
All right, that's good.
Yeah, I don't know is one of my favorite answers.
That's a good answer.
I invite the audience to throw in examples.
Yeah, help me out.
Their confidence. I have one. If for example, in our searches for, like, we go to Europa, and we find that Europa has a different enough condition that it would prevent the kind of life that we know about happening, and that this kind of condition reasonably would be extrapolated to most of the other similar Goldilocks zones, that would reduce my confidence. Gigi, do you have any?
I can't think of any right now.
Okay. Cool. Well, we'll pop up any that the audience think of. Okay, so we've talked about hypothetical ups, hypothetical downs.
The question in my mind is, assuming, okay, imagine somebody, we don't know. I'm gonna borrow from Mark Solomon here and ask, okay,
Oh,
say
let me ask.
they
Can I
were
ask? Answer this?
Oh yeah, sorry.
yeah.
I saw you.
Oh,
Go ahead.
Mars is, but Venus is not.
No,
Mars
Venus
is on the
is too close.
edge. Mars is on the very far edge, but Venus is not.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Okay. So please go back to your Mark Solomon question.
Okay, so assuming we talk to somebody else who doesn't agree with you, a mysterious third person like Bob, who disagrees with you, they don't think that intelligent life is possible elsewhere in the universe, despite all of the possibility of the same Goldilocks zone that we enjoy here. What would be his best reason for not believing?
Yeah. I don't know that one either.
Okay.
Okay. Cool.
I will refer us back to a conversation we had on this show with Fraser Cain, where he had exactly the opposite. And his steel man was, there are inevitable thermodynamic consequences to any organism getting smart enough to actually harvest most of the energy from their star, for example. And we would be able to see that thermodynamic consequence at great distances, more than just our own galaxy, but Andromeda and the local group and things of that order. And therefore we have looked, and we haven't seen what would be one of the obvious consequences of an intelligent life, understanding many exponents above the line that you're giving of being able to communicate something close to us. His was a Kardashev notion of a civilization could be measured by their total energy capture, and huge leaps like all of a planet, all of a star, all of a local group or galaxy or something.
Right.
Yeah. So Fraser makes a great steel man. I will try to, after the end of this, add the link to that show in the description. So live people, sorry if you don't come up with it, I'm not going to stop and type, but everybody else is going to get to have that at their fingertips. Cool. Gina, can you think of any other questions I should have asked?
Has your confidence changed at all in this claim over the course of the conversation?
Nope. Can't say that it has.
Cool.
Okay.
So thank you for bringing that claim. That was delightful and fun to explore. Drop the banner tack. And you are so welcome to hang out with us as a panelist. And let's invite other callers. Let's see. Welcome. Come join the show. Call in. Have us talk to you. Ask you questions about street epistemology, or actually do street epistemology with you. That's my favorite thing. I love live. Live is ever so much fun. I went to UCLA with Reed yesterday, and we had it was a fine day. There wasn't any drama at all, but it was only a very few people stopped. Yeah, it was a little scarce. We only had 2 publishable conversations, and I'll publish one, and Reed will publish the other. That'll be great. We did have a visit from Eric Anderson, I think is his name. He was visited with us before at Echo Park and on live streams and various other things. he is professionally a counselor of people, cognitive behavioral therapist, maybe. I might
I
be
think a family therapist.
family therapist. Yeah.
Imagine family therapist, something like that.
So he, like Mark Solomon, is a bit of a ringer for street epistemology. They already have the tone down. Yeah. Street epistemology does have a lot of overlaps with things like counseling, but not because we're trying to fix people or help them with their problems or anything else, but just because rapport and listening and good communications are well worked out by the talk therapy industry, and we're stealing their ideas fair and square. Ooh, now that sounds like a claim. A calorie does not equal another calorie. Okay. Question about macronutrients. Somebody wants to call in. We can totally talk about the usefulness and appropriateness of macronutrients in your diet.
Wow.
Yeah.
Totally not in my area.
Yeah, I can't claim to be an expert. I have done a lot of my own research, and I keep finding lots of new things. So my research is nowhere near good or complete.
I am totally not existent for me. Never even really heard of it.
Oh. What do you do for a living, Aaron?
I work as a public affairs specialist for the state of Oregon, for the Oregon National Guard.
Yes.
Does that make you a recruiter?
No.
No.
I work for the state. So we basically, it's kind of, you can kind of compare it to marketing and communication. We kind of just share to the public, the taxpayers, what the Guard is doing in the state. Like we have a lot of people, were recently activated to help out with the COVID vaccination and the forest fires. And these last 2 years have just been nuts as far as being mobilized and doing stuff within the local communities. I just recently retired militarily last month.
Okay.
I was a guard, Air Force guard for the state of Oregon, and my full-time civilian job is in public affairs, which I was doing on the military side as well.
Cool.
But now this is just a higher level for the entire state. So,
has your job changed much since you went from military to civilian?
No, I mean, as far as what I do day to day compared to like my 1 week in the month where I was doing my drills, they're basically the same. It's just the who we're covering, and it's mainly the Army side of the house because the two wings on the Air Force side have their own public affairs departments that manage their PA stuff. So we mainly help out the Army side, which doesn't have that. So or we just share, what other units are doing within the state, and kind of just communications to the public in general.
Yeah. So what does the National Guard have to do with COVID vaccines?
They were.
It sounds very scary if I make the Fox News of this. National Guard's been going along. Coming to people's houses, telling them about. No, it's probably
no. They were there as I volunteered to help last summer of last year. To help out with one where they were doing distribution. So here in Portland, they had at this convention center, they had a giant vaccination clinic. So people who wanted it, because it was free, could come and get the vaccine. And so the Guard was there helping out as just I'm not medically trained. So the ones who were medics could administer the shots, but I wasn't. So I was just checking people in, registering them for the next shot or whatever, just the admin side of the house.
Yeah.
And then after that, early this spring and late last fall, I was involuntarily mobilized to help out at the hospital missions of all the folks, the hospital people who worked at certain hospitals that lost staff because they didn't want to get vaccinated.
Yep.
And so the Guard came in and stepped up and said, hey, we need your help. So they filled in mostly non-clinical roles.
Yeah.
So administrative, logistics, things like that, supplies, cleaning. So anything that wasn't strictly, on the patient, that they're able to do. So
COVID made a big difference in medicine.
it changed everything.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff.
When I left the hospital last year, I, for the very first time in my life, was not confronted with the need to have a medical professional push me out of the hospital in a wheelchair. I was able to leave under my own power and my choice as to whether I use a wheelchair or walk or whatever else. And I think that was way overdue. It took a pandemic to get us to stop with that particular nonsense. I mean, I'm sure there's some reasons for it, like some people suddenly having a relapse and something looks bad. But yeah, I'm glad of that change. I hope it stays permanent. It's always been a silly when I see people come out of the hospital.
Yeah, I think they're just trying to make.
I think in some cases it's required or suggested, maybe.
Yeah, because they want to cover themselves. They don't want to
have an accident.
Liability nonsense. Yeah,
exactly.
Well, if the person is maybe borderline, maybe they can walk out under their own power, but they just want to be sure that the person is safe coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I get the liability question, and I think professionals are more valuable than that. I think it's a bad use of resources and a bad attitude, and I hope it fixes. But that's just one layperson's opinion. Anyway. Cool. Thanks. So involuntarily mobilized to hospitals to help. Okay. I mean, do you think that was a good use of your time?
It was a pretty good experience for most of the guardsmen. A lot of them ended up accepting positions full-time civilian status wise at these hospitals because they liked the experience so much, helping the people right there, helping them out, whatever that might be. Like they're the front line of seeing how everything gets done, how their people come in, how they're treated, whatever, the whole, some, did non-medical stuff. But overall it was a good experience. I was glad to help out. And that's what the Guard's for the state. The governor is the commander in chief of the Guard, National Guard, unless it become federalized by the president, then they're federal. But by default, the Guard is controlled by the governor of the state in which they reside. Yeah. So if the governor says, "Hey, there's a national emergency, there's an earthquake, forest fire, floods," he or she, the governor, can activate the Guard to help out, to supplement if they don't have the resources in other areas to do it. So,
hey, peacetime dividend, baby. When we're at peace, we have a lot of people training and being prepared for something that hopefully they're not needed for in the short time, and like that.
Yep.
Yeah. Want to talk about war? Want to talk about Ukraine?
Oh boy. Yeah, I'm glad I retired when I did. My wife at the beginning of the year when it happened, when Russia first invaded, she kind of looked over at me or watching the news, and she was like, "I think you should retire now." I was like, "Yeah, I was planning to anyway. But yeah, I mean, I
firmed up your resolve.
Yeah, I mean, I've been over there, that region near there, when I was in the Army. I was active duty Army right out of high school for 3 years, and I was stationed in Germany, and I was deployed to Bosnia during the whole debacle there in the 90s, late 90s, 96, with NATO and the peacekeeping. And so I got to see firsthand just the devastation that that community did, in their Bosnia, near Sarajevo and everything. And it's we were there mainly with NATO and other NATO countries to keep the peace. And honestly, the worst thing that I was at the time when I was there, the worst thing that I was concerned about was landmines, which were strewn all over that country.
Yeah.
So luckily, we didn't run over any, but it's just still in the back of your head. You just
constantly. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so little you can do about it. I mean, you can ride with your knees up in your chest because you're sitting on sandbags. That might help a little.
Well, we had armored Humvees that were inside, were not like they have now, but this is 20 some years ago.
Sure.
That they had stuff like you could put on the inside that was protection. So
Wow. Yeah, that's bombs on the road. Very good way to target a mechanistic, wheel-driven war machine.
yeah.
Abe says, Afghanistan was a real eye-opener for me. Realizing why I was there was crazy. So Abe was in Afghanistan and thinks that the reasons that the leadership had to put you there were not good. I would love for you to come talk to us about that and let us pick your brains about what crazy meant. As far as Bosnia, now, I don't know what the rules are. You were active duty at the time. I know at that time you sign away essentially your First Amendment rights to go into the military. Is that about right? You just not allowed to your opinions?
No,
about
I mean, it's you just can't do it in uniform. Basically, is how it. Okay. We have rights. I mean, if you're, it's like as a guardsman or prior guardsman, now retiree, you're a civilian first and military second because it's only part-time. So you have individuals who here in this state, it goes both ways as far as political spectrum. But there are guardsmen which we had to I'm the social media manager for the state military department. So my job is to just monitor and just all of our channels that we have to manage. And there had been a few guard members who, while in uniform, like visibly in uniform, are saying one thing politically, it doesn't matter from which spectrum, bad mouthing, whatever. It's political. And that's a big no-no. Basically, you can do it as a private citizen, which we all are as guardsmen, but you just can't do it within uniform saying that that's a reflection of the institution. That's what they believe, which is not the case. It's the individual. So that's why
putting on the uniform means that you're representing the position of the military or the institution itself.
Exactly, yeah. So
I understand a lot of people join the military in order to fast track to citizenship. Is that right?
Yeah, there are some. It has. There are some people that do that. I went to basic training when I was in the Army with a guy who, I think he was from Vietnam, if I remember correctly, and he was in my platoon, a young guy, and he did not hardly speak, no English, hardly at all.
Oh,
and I remember the drill sergeant kind of mentioning that, but the funny thing was the dude could shine boots like no other.
Okay.
he just was really, I remember at the very end of our graduation, when we had our final inspection, barracks inspection, he was in charge of shining all of the dress shoes for display because he did it so well. But I remember that he didn't hardly speak any English, so I can't imagine how it must have been for him. But we all made it through. So,
do the members of the platoon have access to Google Translate on their phones while on duty? Is that something that?
No, your phones these days with this. I mean, when I was in basic, smartphones didn't exist. The modern cell phone has.
Yeah.
But now these days, no, all your personal items that you bring with you get taken and stowed away, and you can't
for
access
basic
them.
training. If it's not GI,
Right.
you didn't have it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's not GI,
you're-
it was your GI tract.
Yeah. But it's
TMI.
Okay.
yes, you might. But their secondary training that they go after basic, they have more privileges, so they'll get those items back. And but not in basic, you are all the same, and you're there for one reason only, to get trained and all that. So
I'm wondering how many words a soldier would have to know to do their basic job. I mean, would it be hundreds? Would they be able? If I just had to, what are all the commands I'm going to have to do? I want to be able to recognize those words really well. How small a group is that? Or are the details in a platoon really advanced language that that somebody would have to have a larger vocabulary? I'm just musing.
yeah. It got me thinking about that guy, and I wondered how long he served and what he did, what his actual MOS was. I don't recall what it was, but it would be interesting to see where he's at today. So, but yeah.
I think MOS for other people means something like the thing that you're
specialized
in.
Your military occupational specialty acronym.
Yeah. Okay. So the specialty, the actual job that you're trained for. Beyond the basic. Yeah.
Right.
Cool. There's a lively thing going on in chat regarding war and meat versus vegetables, or no, meat versus everything else.
Vegan.
More than just vegetables.
Let's try to keep this focus on Essie and on the conversation going on, please.
Oh, sure. Yeah, and as long
that's
as...
a note for the chat, not for you, Dali.
Chat, go ahead, do what you want. Just be kind.
Yes, be kind is kind of what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Naughty Chase. Anyway.
No comment.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be nice.
So a little feedback from the audience. I'm doing a time lapse again for 8 days ago, October 12th at UCLA. It just turned out that there wasn't anybody who said, no, I need to be hidden from the world. And I'll be able to just throw it all into a time lapse showing you the wide shot and everything else. Because sometimes people like, especially other creators, like to get a sense of how much of the time is waiting time and what goes on behind the scenes between the conversations. Because we'll be there for 4 hours and we might publish more than an hour's worth of conversations, and that's a great day. Some days aren't nearly that much.
Do you also I think how much is edited out in the process? To how many conversations do you typically get during the 4-hour day? What are some of the things you do to try to attract interlocutors? I guess in this case, when you're out with Reed, it's mostly for the spectrum as the game. So you're trying to get you're trying to get more than one person to participate in that.
Yeah, with tabling, you're very much attractive to singletons, and then their friend waits and watches, and maybe if their friend's really, really patient, they might be interested in having their own conversation. Whereas with Spectrum, it really works well up to 5 people. Actually, I bet we could have more, but it would just stretch out really long, giving a chance for everybody to speak. Neither Reed or I are naturally extroverts. You get my hosting energy. Here I am. Wow. But it's an act. I'm putting this on. This is a role I'm playing. My natural tendency is to sit back and watch and listen and then engage when I'm really sure about things, and I have to
Yeah, that's me
shift
too.
into an entirely different gear to
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Yeah. So I juggle balls, which is really good for getting that initial eye contact. People will look and watch the juggle, and then they get eye contact, and then I say, "Hi, we're doing critical thinking today," or free speech, or there's any number of taglines I might use.
There was a video yesterday where you was like, it opened with you trying to teach someone to juggle, someone I
yes,
assumed
Natalie.
was same
Hey,
person
Natalie,
as same person as the conversation you premiered today.
Yes. The conversation about whether it's a good thing to study the Bible.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that, by the way. I think it's definitely a good thing.
Yeah. You see a link to Juggling Lessons channel down in the description, and you can go there and see the Spectrum essay that Reed and I have been doing this year. It's Reed started really doing a lot of Spectrum essay when Peter Boghossian got into it heavily. I guess around January, maybe a little earlier, and they did a tour of universities.
Yeah, I've seen some of the videos.
Awesome. And so Reed and I are just strictly ripping off that. Now, Reed is not really ripping it off. He was the technical arm of that tour with Peter Boghossian. So he's not really ripping off somebody else's idea. Oh, yes, we are. Jubilee. Check out the Jubilee channel. They do good things. But the idea of putting people on a 7-point scale and having them discuss their things, that was the Jubilee YouTube channel that we stole that from. Indeed. So we're finding some big advantages in doing Spectrum style SE. The upside is more people more easily participate, and it's a little easier to get them talking when it's several of them, and especially if they're there with friends, they become addressing their friends more than the audience or us, which is excellent. It's real human and beautiful then.
Is there a real life chicken?
Yes.
Yes, there are a couple. There's one rooster
right behind
and 2 hens.
Shirts are my 3 pet bantam, little tiny chickens, and one of them is Miles, who's like 8 or 10 years old, and yes, crowing right behind me.
Okay.
I don't know. Can you see him?
No, not really. Not well.
He's
not well.
There on the edge of the bed, just laying there, lounging on the edge of my bed, with a nice big pet blanket that is waterproof and all those things. Okay. Yes, real genuine chicken.
Hello to Miles.
Yeah, Miles is awesome. Anyway. Yeah, now the downside of Spectrum is setup. Recently, Reed and I, we time our setup from when we get the cart to the location to when we are ready to turn on the cameras and everything is rolling. Like yesterday took 33 minutes to set up with 2 of us, and we're kind of practiced at it. It used to take 45 minutes to an hour. And then strike takes 12 minutes. So taking it down is much faster than setting it up. It doesn't seem like that should be the case, but that's just really how that works. It just takes 3 times as long to set it up. Like that. The other downside of Spectrum is you really need to have 2 practitioners.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to have the noteboard roll and writing down reasons and managing the board so that you keep track of the conversation. Otherwise, with everybody just throwing in all their stuff, it's like throwing a lot of mud at the wall, and people don't remember really what the points were that we're trying to stay on point to. And
I think Reed said he prefers that role.
yes, he does prefer the note taker role, which means I kind of get all the microphone time I'm willing to do. Which is great. This is great for me.
I thought it's really awesome. There's a moment, I think you were wrapping up your conversation from yesterday, or the one you published yesterday on Islamophobia. And a bunch of kids come along wanting to like play with the a few sticky notes that you had. And I think your interlocutor was like, no, don't touch it, don't play with it. Then Reed and you just jump in and give them something to play with, something to occupy themselves. I thought it was really sweet.
Can't have this one, though. This one's mine. This one's special.
Yeah.
This one's very special.
Instead of like just chastising them, don't like include them.
Yeah. This happened at this is my prize from my first sit down conversation with Reed in early 2020. That was the first time I did SE in person.
Yeah.
I had done a good bit of it. Well, okay, I had done SE in person without cameras. Just I was trying to really take it on in 18 and 19 with friends and family. But that was the first time I sat down at a table where it was being published and there were cameras and was formally doing
That
it.
was in early 20, like right before the pandemic hit.
Yeah, it was a month or two before the pandemic, and my SE career took off and immediately crashed. Yeah, boom. Okay.
It just took a different form. You had to redirect.
Yeah, and I just redirected to online and started doing these kind of things, and then met up with FK, who completely transformed my whole process and got me addicted to live. I thought I was going to be doing editing and careful this and follow the Reed path of beautifully sculpted videos, just a few of them, and no, I went completely the other direction. Just back the truck up, dump it all, and you get to see the good and the bad. You get to see all of it.
Mm-hmm.
He should sign it. Yes, I actually had originally said it would be really cool if I wanted to get the set of the three of them, the three different colors that we use, yellow, red, blue. And have one signed by Reed, one signed by Anthony, and one signed by let's chat, Dr. Tyrone Wells.
Tyrone.
Yeah. Since then, Tyrone has kind of a bit dropped out of doing SE in public, but still, I count him as the one of the three that I learned the most from prior to really taking it on myself out in public. So yeah,
I have a souvenir red puzzle piece.
Yeah, having those three puzzle pieces signed, and then like putting clear plastic,
all three of them together.
Yeah,
and
together,
preserving them.
Plastic or something sticking on a wall, some kind of a trophy-ish thing. Although that I can still squeeze this one. It's something beautiful, tactile about a thing that has a memory that you can interact with species.
I have a red one somewhere. I can't find it right now, but it was signed by Anthony, and it was kind of cool. I laughed a little bit when I got that one, and I had been using it more than a few times for the stress ball effect. So much so that I think the marker signature wore off a little.
I bet it would only take something reasonable reason for Anthony to sign you another one. CBT having crossover in Street Epistemology yes, cognitive behavioral therapy, very, very much, in that it's focused on listening and it's focused on looking at the underlying reasons why we make choices. And rather than arguing with the actual choices, look at, well, what do you want in the overall? Try to get a higher view on your own decision making. That's what I understand of CBT. I'm not an expert at all. I would ask Mark Solomon or Eric Anderson about the specifics of that. They're both SEers and do CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. Trying not to get into acronyms here.
Yeah.
They can skip right over my head. Interlocutor, what's that?
Your conversation partner. They weren't making
the
a claim.
claimant or the interviewer or the whatever. Those are much clearer words, but that's all good. So I think people that are trained in CBT are ringers when they come into street epistemology. They jump from they start with many months of experience. Effectively, they are as good a street epistemologist in 3 weeks as 6 months who came from any without having any priors that really help. Professional negotiation techniques, yes, very similar to SE. You got to get to listening. In their case, they are actually concerned about the results of the effect, but they are they do a lot of things that are good for SE, especially keeping rapport as a primary goal. Maintaining rapport as you go. Cool. The feedback I was going to ask for is the prior time I did a time lapse, I did it at 100x squeeze. This time I'm trying at a 60x squeeze because somebody I like suggested that I do that because a minute goes to an hour and that seems right, and maybe it's easier to follow and less jumpy. So I would love feedback as to whether you think slower or faster is a good idea for time lapses over 4 hours. Do you want 4 minutes? That's what this one's going to be. But
you can compare it to the last one.
Well, the last one's got almost 300 views. It's really strange that people would just go look at a time lapse with no other information in it other than you seeing people dancing fast and shadows moving slow across it. What's going on there, but you do see people coming and get animated and then also calm and calm. I don't know, it's cool. It's also
but there's also like you and Reed pulling and pushing there's like a camera and an iPad on the trolley.
It's a GoPro mounted on the top of Reed's push cart.
Okay.
And we put it out in front of the Spectrum board because we've figured out that attracts a lot more attention. People coming along and, what's this thing? And then it's got a board on it with suggestions that for things that people can bring up and a little bit of information about what's going on. Plus the speaker, there's this boombox speaker that's hooked to our sound system and hooked to the lavalier mics and hooked to the stick mic. So we can busk in that sort of quiet, amplified way. Hi, we're doing critical thinking today. Would you like to play our critical thinking game? There's stuff like that. So then we roll it back in close to the whiteboard so that that camera is pointed at the whiteboard, and we can then track, and I can edit those back into the final video so that the audience has a good situational awareness for the topics and how they're being added and when, what the lines mean. I still haven't learned what the lines mean.
Do they draw like an audience when you get like an interlocutor and a claim, a conversation partner, someone playing the game? Do they draw an audience on site as much as on the internet, do you think?
The audience on the internet is very often watching while they're doing something else. So there can be breaks of time in between, and we can just talk, and it's a little like this show. It's less intense. The audience on site, I'm going to say maybe 20% of the time we're having a spectrum. Somebody else will come by and stand at the edge and watch the whole thing. And if they do that for more than a minute, there's a 50-50 chance they're going to come play. Usually on the next claim. People rarely try to join in on claims that are established.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Which,
but it's UCLA. It's a publicly, it's a state school, but it's one of the more expensive state schools that you can go to.
It's a famous state school.
It's a famous state school. I'm not sure if Ivy League is the right term, but it's, if there's a hierarchy of
renowned,
quality and
well-known, well-respected.
Yeah, and it's darn near Disneyland. It's freaking clean. And it's opulent. Oh. So amazing.
Well, guys, I gotta head out, but it was a good conversation. Enjoyed it.
Joining us, and it's nice to meet you.
Thank you, Aaron, for being for our ringer caller and panelist, and like that. So be well, and hope to see you again soon.
Take care.
Will do. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
And then there were two.
So you had something in your back pocket. Let me.
Oh yes, morality is what is it? Morality must be subjective.
Yes. Okay. So morality, what does that mean?
I think it has to do with our ideas of right and wrong and how we interact with others.
Mm-hmm. Our ideas about what's right and what's wrong, and how we interact with others. To what degree are those tied together? Is something right or wrong if it has nothing to do with how we interact with others?
I think ethics covers just ideas about what's right or wrong, but morality is more practical. Okay. It takes that to the next level in how we interact with others.
Okay, so morality is right or wrong put into real action.
Yes.
Okay. Subjective. So what does subjective mean? And then what does objective, which I think is the opposite or the other thing, what do those two things mean?
I think subjective would mean personal. One's individual opinions, preferences, ideas. Objective would be the opposite, like universal, fixed.
So pi is objective.
Yes, it's an objective fact.
Yeah. And so I'm hearing objective is true, independent of the opinions of people.
Yes.
Any opinions held by intelligent agents, whoever those are. And so subjective. Now, if something is subjective, is it still possible that everyone could agree on it?
I don't think anybody would agree on anything. It'd be really hard to find something that everybody could agree on, or everybody would agree on. But I think for objective fact, I think there's some consequence for people not agreeing. Subjectively, very little.
Oh, okay. So if it's the more objective it is, the more there's a consequence to disagreeing with it.
Yes.
Okay.
Like if you're doing measurements and you get pi wrong, then there's a consequence.
Yes. If you've been at it for a while and you're 15 digits in, that consequence is Indetectable.
I don't actually know how many digits I know of pi.
Okay.
Less than 10, I'm sure.
Okay. 3 and a 7th. Close enough. Some people are yes, but I'm not designing aircraft. If you're designing a boats, 3 and a smidge.
3 and 1/4, or 3 and
Yeah.
14
3 and the next
100.
mark on the ruler, whatever that is. Okay, so Morgan says that facts are objective, values are subjective.
Yes.
Abe says objective is the measurable, subjective is feelings and opinion. And so I have different versions of objective and subjective here. And if subjective is a fuzzy, that's okay for what we're doing. Now, here's the really interesting part. Must be? What do you mean? Must be. Who says morality must be? What? Who? What?
There are consequences.
Okay.
Because there are consequences to people if you try to make the subjective objective. If you try to take things that are based on individual values and universalize them in a way that could cause harm to others that you're not thinking about.
I'm hearing that if you decide that some part of your morality is objective, that you will act badly. You will act in a way that harms people some of the time. So it's almost like it's a noble truth to disbelieve in objective morality, because avoid fascism or avoid totalitarianism or avoid inappropriate control.
Yeah.
Okay.
Avoid overextending your own values to others.
If somebody managed to convince you that there was at least one objective moral fact, somebody page Sam Harris, it would you say, and we should ignore that because establishing any moral fact is a slippery slope toward avoiding plurality, avoiding the ability to work within a compromise of multiple viewpoints, and because most morality is subjective.
Okay, I don't understand the question.
Okay. Yeah, it got too complicated. Let me start again. Just got here. The chicken clucking. Yes, that is one of my hens who just popped out of the nest and is announcing it brightly. That's called egg song. I have 3 pet chickens that live here in my basement.
It's a Sigma or I?
I.
Okay. Hey, Day.
Okay, so yeah, Abe was saying that not wanting to die is universal, and it's suicide.
I think pretty much everybody has a survival instinct, except when it misfires, and people actually do want to end their life for whatever reason, to end their own suffering.
Yeah. So what would, let's see. So if it were demonstrated to your satisfaction that there was at least one example of an objective moral fact, would that change your claim, or would you say instead that well, no, you tell me what instead. Would that change your position?
I think instead of must, it might be most morality is subjective, because there may be exceptions that I don't know about.
Okay. if somebody believed that all morality was objective, could they act in a moral way, or would they be messed up?
Again, I'm not sure I understand the question.
So imagine somebody is on the opposite side. This is a Steelman request.
Okay.
And they held that morality was objective by whatever reasons. Maybe they're theists, maybe they're atheists. Could they have a morality that's close enough that they think is objective that they could act in a way that you would not object to?
I think so. There are values that I can imagine are pretty universal, that acting on them would be like principles or values like charity and fairness and kindness are things that most people agree with, are close to universal.
Okay. If everybody agreed with you, or almost everybody, I'm just gonna wave it. Let's see. I have my wand. If everybody agreed with you, poof, that morality must be subjective, and we should let go of objective notions of morality, what would change in the world?
I think there'd be a lot less undue influence, a lot less authoritarianism, a few people trying to enforce their values on others, on other people's behavior, letting people, I guess, making decisions about morality and other things that go along with it, like diet according to their own values and what's available.
Diet? Choice of eating?
Of meat versus
okay.
Diet food.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, whether food comes with ethical baggage.
Yes. I think it does, but it's not quite that black and white.
Okay.
It's there'd be a lot fewer, there'd be a lot less black and white thinking in the area of morality, and a lot more room for gray area.
What are the downsides? What costs might come because society shifts to thinking that morality is necessarily subjective?
Good question. I think there's evil that could be done in the name of subjective morality. If everything's relative, then nothing matters. Sort of mentality.
Paging Ayn Rand. If they all show up in the show at the same time, we're going to hit our 10 limit, but we're going to go long.
That's a really good question. I hadn't thought about it. I think I want to be fair here. Can you rephrase the question?
I really liked your answer, that some people would use subjectivity of morality as an excuse to let go of important moral precepts in exchange for what you might consider short-term gains or unfair gains or inappropriate action, simply because they were restrained by thinking that the morality they were exercising was externally imposed or definite or sorts of things. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. The progressive left seems to have fallen into the subjectivity thing a bit. And if you're on the progressive left, come and tell me why I'm wrong. I want to hear.
I'm definitely a progressive left, and I absolutely agree with you.
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
They're like way too far into relativism. Saying it's all good if it's all good.
But it's
So
all
I think
good. It's all good if it shifts power in the right direction. There's
that, I guess. I said that poorly. I guess what I mean is, if it's not stepping on the rights of others or devaluing, devaluing others unnecessarily, then pretty much whatever. Like, if I harm none, do what you will, sort of thing.
right. So, you're sounding an awful lot like you're marching down the political spectrum toward the individual rights side of things. Wonder if you're moving from progressive to centrist. Not trying to move you.
I don't know.
Do what suits you.
I consider myself pretty far left of center, but that said, I do get frustrated with others who are really far left of center.
Yeah. I find I disagree with people on the left as often as I disagree with people on the right.
Yeah.
But then I look at my own political compass, and it puts me a little left of center and about 3 notches down from away from authoritarian. When I also look at where I stand on a bunch of different topics, and I'm all over the map.
Yeah.
On my stuff. So it's sort of like the average clusters in that one spot. But whatever. And any of those things, I'm happy to talk to you about and tell you why I think so, and be willing to move. And
there was a questionnaire that I think abstract activist, our friend Nathan, posted some time ago in the SE Discord asking, like, where are you on the political spectrum? And I was surprised to find it. And that word that conservatives use, it's a scare word.
Which one?
Socialist.
Socialist. Oh,
yeah.
Well, okay.
I'm pretty far left.
Yeah. I'm a student of history, and to the degree that we're a socialist, I'm pretty in favor of it. And I think it's the only way forward.
I think a mixed economy is the best way to go. And
yeah.
Not purely capitalistic and not purely socialist, because anything too absolute is bad.
Yeah, the extremes, and then we could bring up the horseshoe theory, things like that. Abe says the political spectrum is a fallacy. It's an invention. Quinn says,
yeah.
Ayo.
Quinn, good to see you, bro.
Yeah. So, well, thank you. Hypothetical ups and downs.
I don't think we discussed my confidence to start.
Okay. How sure are you that morality necessarily should be treated as objective?
I think after talking about this, I'm only about 70% sure.
Okay. Before we talked?
I think I was 80 or 90.
Awesome. And I'm not even going to go to hypotheticals. We're good. We're done. Thank you.
But what would reduce my confidence even more? Is finding those edge cases, those areas that are pretty universal when it comes to morality. Universal values, things pretty much everybody can or maybe should agree on.
Mm-hmm.
And the other direction, I'm not sure what would increase my confidence now.
You've increased my confidence.
Really?
Yeah, I moved a little bit toward the notion that as a noble truth, we would all be better off if we rounded morality to being subjective, even if we can find stuff on the other side. Now, my confidence is already very high, and you've just added a little sliver to it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Nice. I'd be curious to hear what others in the chat think.
Yeah. If especially if they want to call in. And let's see. Are there any announcements going on that matter? And anything happening? Oh, in this show, whatever the last show is that we have in October, that might be Saturday the 29th. That might be something we do on the 30th or 31st, and a floating show like this one. We are inviting the panelists to come in costume. So, especially if anybody wants any help making that happen, that's great. Maybe we'll just use the YouTube Snapchat thing. I don't know what if somebody wants to just phone it in, that's okay. And like that. So especially callers, any callers that show up in any kind of a costume, it could be garage or glasses, are going to get priority on that show. It'll be a costume show for the end of October.
I'm almost convinced.
Yeah. It probably doesn't require purchasing anything new. Just doing something different than you usually do is the thing. But whatever. Just have fun with it. It's not important.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I waved. That could be dangerous. If we both wave at the same time, that could be a sudden end to the broadcast.
There is a weird event going on because the regular practice events on the Discord have been suspended.
Yes.
Because we just haven't had the host available.
Yeah. The hosts got busy with life, and we had a cadre of 4, 5, 6 of them that were sharing it up, and then suddenly it was like, everybody
It just died down.
Timings. Pierce Watkins is doing one this week.
Next Wednesday at 6 p.m. my time.
Okay, 6 p.m. Eastern time, 3 p.m. Pacific time.
5 p.m. Central.
Sorry, 5 p.m. Central. Right. Sasha says, I'd love to see SE done on the question, is it my responsibility not to offend people, or is it the person's responsibility to not get offended?
Ooh. Both.
Okay.
I think both people have some responsibility.
So, Sasha, I welcome you to call in.
On the one hand,
we can even make you a ringer caller for your own show if you want.
Ooh.
The responsibility for giving or taking offense.
This is interesting.
I'll have to get a Richard Dawkins hat and wear it backwards.
Because I think just calling someone thin-skinned is a cop-out. Because we can't always control like how other people would take something. And sometimes it can also be used to blame the victim or to gaslight people and say that they're being too sensitive. But on the other hand, we also have a responsibility to, be nice and be kind and not be jerks to people.
What are the limits of that? Should I have that as a default for all people? that I
It
should.
should be a default, but it shouldn't be fixed.
Okay.
And there should always be gray area. Sometimes we need to push a little. Sometimes we need to be a little pushy.
Mhm.
But only as an extreme last resort when we've exhausted all other options.
Yeah. Pull out stuff that breaks rapport last, because it's probably going to be the last tool you get to try.
Yeah.
Yes, before diplomacy by other means. That kind of thing. Getting back to war.
Cowboy diplomacy.
Yeah. I spend maybe an hour a day keeping up with what's going on in the world with war and such. I'm kind of passionately anti-war. I'm okay. I'm not going to go into there, but I'm also very interested in what motivates people to do something that is so dangerous and destructive and that kind of thing.
Counter to people's life and freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's there's some guys that we talked to at UCLA who are spewing facts and logics at us. A kind of propagandistic gish gallop. That'll be released soon. So hopefully that's not too negative of me to say about a claimant, but a long string of claims with a very, very difficult to get the reasons put on the board. Lots and lots of supporting, no reason stated. Stuff like that.
I think that's talking about the behavior, not the person. So I think we're okay.
Yeah. I'm not dissing them. I want to talk to them a lot more. I think they're interesting and fun. I'm actually thinking of 3 different people. I think they're interesting and fun, and they are way welcome on my Spectrum board, and I want to talk to them a lot. Even if they turn out to be Chapter 7, that's shorthand for doxastically closed ideas.
Ideologues, yeah.
Yeah, ideologues. That's okay. I'm way happy to have even somebody who's stuck in an ideologue position talk to me, because they educate me about what's going on inside their head and how they see things, and whether or not I find their facts compelling is a second question. Anyway, with no further callers, shall we adjourn?
I think we shall. Thank you for doing this with me.